Good afternoon and welcome to the inaugural episode of Tournament Arc, the Oregon State University anime show. My name is Alex Niebuhr and I'm your host, guide, friend, and general fan of all things anime. Before we begin the show, I would like to take a quick moment to talk about what is an anime, and more specifically, what is the show we are talking about today. So, to help with explaining, I have brought Ginpachi Sensei in to explain what anime is.
銀玉は何がしたいのですか？やりたいことがよくわかりません。このアニメのゴールが見当たりません。はい、ズバリお答えしましょう。俺もわかりません。いっそどっかで侍王になるとか言っときゃよかったかな。あ、そうしよう。はい、そんなわけでキャサリンの猫耳は史上最悪最強の兵器であるさ。アニメ銀玉のゴールは侍王になるです。
Well, he's partially right. Probably should have brought in a real expert. Maybe next time. Anime is actually just a specific style of animation that originated in Japan. Now, for shows such as Nickelodeon's Avatar: The Last Airbender and Rooster Teeth's Ruby, both American shows, the argument of these shows being anime is hotly contested. If you look closely at the video clips, it's hard not to see at least influences or similarities in the show's sense of action and pacing. For the sake of ease, let's all assume that we should use the broader sense of the term where these shows count. Okay, everyone agree to be civil? Cool, let's continue. Anime has developed a strong and thriving community across the world, getting closer and closer to the mainstream. Now, I understand the difficulties in access to anime, language, or the stereotypes associated with fans, namely being the problems. But there's never been a better time to try to start watching anime. With services making anime more available, the hope is that I can help guide you, the viewer, into a mystical world where I find great enjoyment in. Today, we're going to be looking at the popular shonen show Boku no Hero Academia, or My Hero Academia. So, without further ado, let's jump into the show. My Hero Academia is a story about Izuku Midoriya, or Deku, as he becomes the world's greatest hero. Deku has grown up idolizing the world's greatest hero, All Might, and even dreams about becoming a great hero like him. Unfortunately, in this world of heroes, Deku is one of the few people without powers referred to as quirkless. This is an extremely rare occurrence in this world, but does not limit Deku's determination, and through that, he manages to get the attention of All Might. Through luck and circumstances, Deku is chosen to be the successor to All Might's power, and the series follows the newly empowered Deku on his adventures full of broken limbs, tears, friendship, blood, sweat, and even more broken limbs as he tries to become the #1 hero. And to help me out, I brought in some friends to discuss the show with me. Let me introduce Alex Oliver and Arvan Bhutani. Tell me a little about yourselves.
Well, I'm Alex. I'm a third year here, junior, and studying environmental economics and policy.
Hi, I'm Arnav. I'm a computer science major, and I'm also a third year.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Each of us have been watching My Hero Academia, and each of us are at different points in the show. So how about we stay to where we are in the show? So let's start with you, Alex.
I'm an anime-only watcher. I haven't touched any of the manga, and I'm currently caught up through what is broadcasted so far, so the first 3 seasons plus the associated OVAs. I haven't gotten a chance to see the movie yet because it's not out on streaming services that I have available to me. But I'm planning on doing that when it comes out.
Yeah, and OVA is original video animation?
Original video animation.
Yeah.
It tends to be shorter animated parts of the series that are released along with Blu-rays or DVDs of the series as like an additional bonus for buying it.
And then for you?
So I'm usually a more manga-centered person, which is like more comics, Japanese style. I'm relatively new to the series. I've only read a couple chapters of the manga. And that's sort of corresponding somewhere within the first 2 seasons where the series really becomes popular. So yeah.
Yeah. And as for me personally, I'm caught up with the English dub of the anime, and I've also read through the manga up to where it's currently at. And I feel like it's doing a really good job of bringing in hype and a lot of interesting, just an interesting world full of so many unique characters, and I think it's really bringing shonen and anime really to the mainstream.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of the big new flagship shonen properties, along with things like Attack on Titan, that are moving in to replace like the old big 3 of Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach.
And we'll probably touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, a lot of people came to My Hero Academia because of the second season, or that's where the popularity really spiked. And that was primarily because of the tournament arc, where we had all these different people that we've seen grown throughout the series start competing against one another in good old fisticuffs and using their abilities. Is there any other specific point in that has interested you as much?
Saying, like, asking what my favorite part of the series is?
Maybe your favorite scenes? Or...
Oh, God. That's going to be really difficult. I'm going to say that my favorite fight of the series probably is actually from that tournament arc, which is going to be Kirishima versus Tetsu.
And
so
Kirishima is...
Kirishima's quirk or superpower is that he can turn his body literally into stone. Mm-hmm. And what happens is he comes up in the tournament against a dude who can do the same thing, but for steel. And they have this funny little dynamic of, hey, you're ripping off my thing. Hey, no, you are. And they eventually fight and become friends at the end of it. Use their rivalry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a relative newcomer to the series, so I don't really have a specific favorite part. Mm-hmm. I think the whole tournament arc is great because it lets you experience a whole lot. It gives you a larger cast because it introduces you to newer characters that you haven't seen in the previous season as much. So I think the whole dynamic between the powers and the teams within the tournament and that sort of thing is really great. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think this kind of also highlights what My Hero Academia does really well, where you have these great fights, which is what you highlighted. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, as you said, the interactions between the characters and creating a sense of comedy, even among a very serious point in these characters' perspectives. It's a tournament, everyone's trying to do their best.
Yeah.
And it's very serious, but tossing in a little bit of comedy makes it kind of a little bit like the stakes aren't as high.
Yeah, it really helps you relate to the series, I think, because if you sort of have this really serious, dark, down thing with this cartoony animation, it sort of draws you away or pushes you back from the series and its message. I think having some cartoony elements, especially with the plot that's as outlandish as Boku no Hero Academia is, really allows you to draw in and connect with the characters a little bit more. It shows them that they're a bit more human than you think.
Yeah. As for the characters, what are your guys' favorite characters that have been introduced so far?
Mm-hmm.
At least where you're at.
Yeah, where I'm at. From what I remember, my favorite character was the main character, I guess.
Yeah.
I really connected. Yeah, with how he doesn't have powers and he feels pushed down and worthless sometimes. So I think he's got a really cool story and how All Might connects with him and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I'm going to say that my favorite character is Mr. Aizawa, the Class 1A's teacher. He's aggressively competent. I think he's got a neat power. His thing is that he can erase other people's superpowers by looking at them. And is generally just one of the most strong and stable characters over the course of the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I like about the show is that it has this kind of check and balance system. So in some situations, a person with this ability A is going to be better than a person with ability B. So if it's a forest fire, a person with a water-based quirk would be better than a person with a fire-based quirk. And you kind of see this in both the matchups between characters fighting each other to also just how they handle the situations. Because the goal of this show is everyone wants to become a superhero in this world.
Number one hero.
Yeah, the number one hero. And so they're learning not just to combat against supervillains, but also to save those in need and help those in need.
And that distinction there is one of the key core components of why Hiroaka is good. One of the main core themes that Hiroaka touches on across its entire run is what is being a hero. To some, like Deku, the main character, being a hero is saving everyone, coming to rescue everyone. Bakugo, his foil, sort of not exactly best friend, but
like
childhood rival, childhood bully in a lot of cases. His idea of being a number one hero, and he's exactly as passionate about it as Deku is, his idea of being a hero is being able to defeat the bad guys every single time, being always victorious, being the strongest. And neither of their visions, per se, is exactly correct of what a hero is. And through their assorted fights and learning off of each other through the course of the series, each of them evolves through that. And it's that kind of long-term character interaction, character growth, what talking about sort of what binds their society together that makes it such a great show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's really good that there's like different strengths for each character, that there's no one unilateral like strength throughout the entire series. I think that sort of brings us into this world again a little bit more and builds it up a bit. And I think the difference between heroes and their goals is also really realistic. So I'm really big on the realism part of anime. I think it's sort of something that you should build on.
Discussing a world of superpowers and caring about the realism. I like your style.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's tossed in with good morals and things that you can kind of take away from it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time we take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to shift the conversation to talking about shonen as a genre in its entirety. Welcome back to more Tournament Arc. So, the shonen genre is an extremely popular genre of anime, at one point containing the big three of anime, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. It has gone through a renaissance-like revival, with shows like Food Wars, My Hero Academia, and even Boruto. Each of them have found major success, and there's a lot of shonen shows and a lot of specific tropes, so let's kind of get into it. So, what is a shonen anime? How would we even describe that?
Am I allowed to pull up a clip of Gintama?
Sadly, we don't have the option for that, but yeah.
I'd say this is like a hard question to describe, like classifying any big genre of things there's going to be. Is this shonen? Is this not shonen? There's going to be people on all sides of the argument spectrum. My basic thesis of what shonen is shonen is conflict-centered storytelling. Shonen isn't about fighting. It isn't about like swords clashing. And while it might involve that in most cases, frankly, it probably does. But the shonen is about these conflicts between people and how they're resolved. One show you mentioned earlier, Food Wars, is literally cooking battles. If, say, Hell's Kitchen were turned into an anime, and it's that kind of conflict. And recent properties like Food Wars being extremely successful, that shows that shonen can be more than just battle series.
Yeah. To build on that, I sort of think it's more about what you grow from the conflict. It's whether that be in like a physical sense, whether your rank increases, or like as the character progresses. And sort of this shows like sort of the maturity of the series. So if you have sort of a rank that enforces how much you've grown, and sort of something that reminds you of like, oh, I've grown this much, it's sort of endemic of a shonen series, while there's some like more subtle shonens where it's more like this person has grown as a character or like as a person, and sort of that's sort of where the shonen aspect comes in. So for me, shonen's a lot more about character growth, whether that's like a rank or like the character itself.
Their power level, using a term that more people might be familiar with from the grandfather of most modern shonen, Dragon Ball.
Yeah. And as like you both have said, there's so many different ways to kind of interpret it. I mean, it strays a lot from the traditional definition where it's just a series or medium that is targeted towards young male demographic. And I agree with both of you. I mean, you have these conflict-driven storytelling, trying to become the best, and you know, gaining power or making new friends along the way. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, a lot of them are meant to leave you with like good messages and.
I think it really builds upon like what you want to be as a young male. Like, especially in like Japanese society, I think a lot of what the messages you're sent is you have to work hard and you'll progress and you'll grow up to become a great person. And you want to be that in some sort of sense. So shonen anime sort of fulfills that. Even if you yourself don't feel like you're doing that, you watch these animes and you escape into their worlds and you sort of become Deku, or you become like Goku, or these kind of characters who constantly grow stronger through conflict. Even if you might not feel that you're doing so yourself, it sort of gives you a promise at the end that you will overcome. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about Hiroaka and Shonen in general, is that there's so many characters that people just relate so strongly to. Like, why has Dragon Ball and Goku specifically become just this massive icon that's breached mainstream culture for years? It's because people look at Goku and see, wow, he's overcoming these struggles, I like him, he goes into it with a good attitude, comes out on the other side ahead, and is always trying to help his friends. It's like that kind of relatability. Even without characters that are like just the number one like protagonist stereotype that people can just relate to and they like because of that.
Yeah, and it's not just limited to like the male demographic, even though a lot of the times it does feature male characters. As you said, it's relatable. It's general relatability, and shouldn't be separated by genders.
Oh, definitely.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, it evolved from that.
Yeah. No, for sure. So we've mentioned the big three earlier as well, which is Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. And these are very long-running shows, kind of early 2000s, maybe late 90s for a couple of them. Have either of you seen any of these shows?
I actually haven't seen any of them. I somehow have managed to go through my life without seeing a single episode of them.
I've watched Naruto and Bleach. I've watched the first sort of season or core of Naruto and the entirety of Bleach. God help me. But yeah, these shows are really appealing, and they've really breached the mainstream a while ago, and they've had their impact on like our society.
Yeah, it helped bring anime and like put its foot in the door.
Yeah.
Because they were marketed differently than a lot of anime is. It wasn't marketed towards, okay, this is something special that's going to get put on like a late night Cartoon Network. It's just, okay, it's a kid's cartoon. We're going to show it along with the rest of the Western stuff just in the same slots. It's a lot of people saw Pokemon as a kid. Pokemon is definitely an anime, and it was just broadcast in the West pretty much the same as any other TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me personally, I've actually seen all three of them, and no, they each have their own different effects. I think Naruto kind of hit a younger demographic, trying to make people be excited and like kind of appeal to the youthful fun of spending time with people, learning and stuff like that. Bleach kind of hit a more mature demographic, and One Piece is so long running. I think it's approaching 800 episodes at this point,
Yeah,
or
it's a
if it's not already
Probably.
there.
Yeah.
Some obnoxiously large number.
Yeah, but with such a long running story, you get attached to the characters and their own journeys and stuff, and it's a very interesting watch. And it's actually one of my personal favorite shows, just simply because I've been watching it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The great thing about the big three is that they exemplify what shonen is. They're sort of like the big granddaddies of anime. So like shonen anime, they're like, so like when you see a show like Hiraka, you can see like, oh, they've taken elements of One Piece, they've taken elements of Naruto and sort of like combined them together. So like the characters are very Naruto-esque, and sort of they're younger and they appeal to that audience and that sort of thing, and their youthfulness is sort of a lot from Naruto. And the themes are a lot like from Bleach, where it's like different characters have these different aspirations where they want to like protect their friends, or they want to be the greatest hero, or they want to defeat the enemy. So it's sort of like that. I think the big three have really made shonen anime evolve, because new shows need to be greater than them, because viewers constantly compare them to each other.
Another big issue with the big three just kind of falling off per se in recent years in comparison to newer franchises is just their broadcast schedule. The big three are notorious for having like quality issues, as I'm sure y'all are both aware. When the anime caught up to the manga that was running, so they'd like come with a filler before the manga caught up, and it just got a little questionable there.
Yeah.
What newer franchises such as Food Wars or Hiroaka have done is that they've slowed down their release schedule instead of just being a continuously airing thing. It's only 6 months out of the year they're on season, 6 months they're off, which has generally led to higher quality standards.
Yeah. basically giving the extra time for the animators to animate and give the writers time to catch up or get a little bit ahead so that the anime can catch up. And it's worked out pretty well for a majority of the series.
In comparison to like Black Clover, which is a more modern show that decided to go for the older style of airing schedule, which has been having similar issues.
Yeah. And we mentioned filler earlier. For those not in the know, filler is essentially episodes taken that don't correspond with the main plot, but is used to essentially stall for time so that the manga artist can create more pages so that they can be translated into anime.
As a like new viewer, I would say go through the new sort of animes, go through like the newer like Food Wars or Boku no Hero.
Not only are they Wars, I'd start with Hero Academia.
Yeah,
okay.
Start with My Hero Academia.
Yeah, so you would start with Hero Academia, go through that, because the older animes, these granddaddies, the big three, are really long. And so if you want to sort of get into anime, it gets really hard to keep up with the plot, especially when there's like 600 episodes and each core is like 100 episodes long or 64 episodes long. So start with the newer stuff, sort of get interested in that, sort of see what it's about. And
see if it's a right fit for you.
Yeah.
Because some shows work, some shows don't. I've watched plenty of shows that I wasn't super interested in and might not have spent my time with it. But there are shows that do fit a certain demographic. I mean, I don't know if we talked about it, but there's shows that are sports anime, and I think that would fall under Shonen with basically a lot of internal conflict, or not internal conflict, but like conflict of between teams and kind of this competition and trying to win the game so that we can go on to the next tournament.
Oh, absolutely. Like Haikyuu and Kuroko no Basket, which are shows about volleyball and basketball respectively, are some of the most popular modern shonen franchises for a good reason. They're good.
Yeah. I think
Haikyuu,
yes, is one of the best series to sort of get started on. It's not only more modern and its animation is really crisp, but it's also got a great storyline and the characters are a lot of fun. So I think if you start with Haikyuu and then sort of move into Shonen through that, that's a great start as well.
Or another popular show, which has been like a sort of gateway show for a ton of people, is Attack on Titan, which is another shonen thing. And you'll see like Attack on Titan merchandise wherever you go. It's like infested Hot Topic.
I think the great thing about Attack on Titan is that it brings in darker elements of shonen. And it's a lot more mature. So if you start out at an older age, say you're in college or in high school, and you want to sort of like have a more mature shonen themes, you can go on Attack on Titan with a lot.
I'm not sure like more mature shonen themes is exactly like the right way of putting it. It's certainly like a much darker show with this like more explicit violence and gore.
Yeah.
But you can't look at Aaron's internal monologuing for the entire first season and think any sort of maturity is from that.
Well,
Different
really
strokes,
depends.
certainly, but
Anyway, we're gonna take a quick break, so hold tight, and we'll see you all in a bit. Welcome back. So, as we were talking about shonen anime, there's so much variety in the genre and so many places where people can start. So, if you were to recommend where people should probably start into possibly looking into anime, I know we touched a little bit, but let's make an actual list out of it, like of the best shows to start with.
The best shows to start, or what I think most people are actually going to start with?
Either
Because a very controversial show, certainly in the genre, that has seen a lot of people's introduction into the genre, is Sword Art Online, which is definitely a show that appeals to our general demographic, being it's about a dude who plays video games, so come on. So something like that, or Attack on Titan, or Hero Academia, or I don't think you can see the poster in the shot, unfortunately. Psycho Pass is a very good crime show for those fans of like NCIS and stuff. Would recommend.
Yeah.
I think all of those are great options. I think if we wanted to start with like a list, I'd say up top you would say something like Boku no Hero Academia, because I think that's not only recent and it's going on and it's exciting, I think it's also one of the better written ones out there. I think
I would be lying a little bit if we didn't shill for that here.
I think one that wasn't mentioned that's really great as well, it's a bit older, but Soul Eater is a great one. Yeah, it's a bit more like, it's flavor of the month, Halloween.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah,
you're
so
right.
like it's a bit more sort of that sort of style. It's like a bit more Halloween sort of death-centered sort of stuff. So that's kind of cool. Another great show I would say is, sorry, I'm blanking on it.
One Punch Man.
It's all good.
Oh yeah, One Punch Man is a really good show.
Yeah.
I think. I haven't watched it actually, but I've heard really great reviews about it.
I mean, it's
so.
just another good, like short running, so it's easy to digest shonen anime kind of intro for people.
Yeah.
I would actually toss in, we mentioned it earlier, Haikyuu is, and Kuroko no Basket, two really popular sports animes. But also even tossing in the great-grandfather of it, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's reasons why those shows have been very popular over the years.
You show anyone on the street a picture of Goku and they'll be like, yeah, that's Goku. And you'll show anyone a picture on the street, a picture of Vegeta, and they'll be like, that's Goku. And you'll be like, you know, I'll give you
enough.
props for trying.
But yeah,
I was personally drawn into anime by Bleach, so it's like anything goes. Anything that you find is that you like, basically get into it, enjoy it. It's
yeah, or
great
just
genre.
binge through Pokemon again. No shame.
yeah.
Yeah, the most recent series, Sun and Moon, is supposedly like really, really good. They did a
Yeah.
lot to reset some of the old, like more dry tropes of the series, and have just taken it a whole new direction.
Yeah. No, there's so many great shows out there, and if you don't know where to begin, you can probably find a list and reach out to people and ask for it, ask about it, and yeah.
All right.
No, it's been super cool to have you all on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank
and I love your insight into this as well, because you tossed a couple shows my way to kind of think about as well. But yeah, so I want to also thank everyone for joining us on the first episode of Tournament Arc, and as I said, thank you both for coming on, and we hope to see you in a week from today. Or 2 weeks from today for the next episode. And yeah, it will be same time, same place, and we hope to see you there for another anime-themed adventure with a new set of friends. This is Tournament Arc. This is a Tournament Arc after all, so on to the next round. See you next time.